Welcome back. We've been covering the issue of auto thefts in this country for a number of months now, most recently when the federal government held a summit here in Ottawa at the beginning of February, bringing together politicians from all different levels of government as well as law enforcement agencies. Has anything changed since then? One of the politicians most vocal about the issue, both at the summit and outside of it, is Brampton, Ontario Mayor Patrick Brown. You can see there Mayor Brown just came from a meeting with the Prime Minister. He's live with us across the street here in studio. Hi, Mayor. Good to see you.
Good to see you.
What is the message that you brought to the Prime Minister around auto thefts 2 months after that summit took place?
Well, my philosophy is you can't just criticize. You have to come up with ideas and solutions for how we can solve it. I think you need all orders of government at the table to actually tackle these challenges. And auto thefts is through the roof. It is hit a point where the auto thefts become more brazen, doors being knocked down. Their break and enters and peel are up 430%. But I believe we can solve this. We don't need to accept, Canada being an auto theft haven in the world. So I had a chance today to speak to several ministers, including the Public Safety Minister LeBlanc and the Prime Minister, about the need for scanners at the Port of Montreal, the intermodal hubs in Brampton and in Vaughan, and also why we need to deputize our local police so they can have jurisdiction. And that wouldn't cost the government anything. It's an easy way to help us, really put a dent in this.
Can I get you to expand on that? So when you say deputize, do you mean essentially the stories I've heard, for example, are, let's say in Montreal at the port, they discover some stolen cars. They basically have no jurisdiction at that point to do anything, and then they have to call Peel Police, and they don't have any jurisdiction. Like, what would deputizing them involve?
Yeah, and so to deputize them means that if the police are following a lead of stolen vehicles, they could actually go into the shipping container, they could open it up, they could continue their investigation. Right now, the Peel Police, which is my local police force, there's a CN hub in Brampton. They're not allowed on it because it's considered a rail line. But local police have no authority at the Port of Montreal. And so even if they can see the tracking device of where the car is, they can't act upon that information. And so we do need better collaboration between all levels of law enforcement in Canada. Right now, you're only permitted to if you have a warrant. And by the time you get a warrant, it's long gone, the stolen property. And so I'm really optimistic that if we deputize local police, give them the power and jurisdiction to be able to operate, we can change the dynamic. Right now, organized crime is winning, and they're winning big. $1.2 billion in 2022 in auto thefts, close to $2 billion, we believe, in 2023. It is flourishing. But, I am optimistic, with the steps that we can take, we can solve this. And I'm optimistic that there's going to be some good announcements in the weeks to come.
So just on that, when you talk about is that a legislative change that would have to come from the federal government,
it would have to
basically?
It would.
And do you feel that that the Prime Minister was receptive to that?
So I thought both the Minister of Public Safety and the Prime Minister were receptive. I think they appreciated that I was coming with ideas and approaches to try to tackle this. I think sometimes in politics everything becomes really partisan and divisive and finger pointing, and that doesn't solve anything. And so rather than finger pointing, I really believe we need to say, how can we fix this together? How can we get our local police, provincial police, RCMP, CBSA, the ports? How do you get everyone working together? And I think Canadians, solve problems when we do that.
The CBSA is part of it, as you mentioned. It's the ability to be able to detect that these stolen cars are even in the cargo that is heading out into the Port of Montreal. That was the subject of a lot of discussion at the summit. There was some new money announced. Do you have any knowledge, or can you tell us anything about what's happening with that? Are there more people, for example, using new machines to scan that stuff?
So that hasn't happened yet, but I'm hopeful that there's going to be an announcement soon. And that was part of the conversations today. But when it's going to be rolled out, when it's going to be announced, I should know what I met with the CBSA union today as well to hear some of their concerns about the lack of staffing we have with CBSA. There's no one silver bullet for this. There's several changes that need to happen. And if it does, we can change the game. Right now, I think organized crime is so focused on this because it's so lucrative, and they view Canada as sort of, low risk, high reward. But we can turn the tables around on this.
I've just got about a minute left, but in your view, what are the stakes if we don't? And I ask that because like you cited one statistic, but it's not just car thefts that are going up. It's the methods that these thieves are using, breaking into homes, in some instances terrorizing families in order to steal.
Well, there's two horrifying consequences if we don't solve this. One, it will become more brazen because the money is so significant. It's not just someone stealing a car at 3 a.m. They're banging doors down, violent carjackings. These are all skyrocketing statistics in Ontario and Quebec. The other worry is this $2 billion gift to organized crime is funding some of the most heinous criminal activity we know of: guns, drugs, human trafficking, terrorism.
Okay, I'm going to leave it on that note. Mayor Brown, thank you very much for making the time. I appreciate it.
My pleasure.
It's Brampton's Mayor Patrick Brown.